Hello, hello. Happy Monday. Boy, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've talked to you. How you doing? I've been busy. I've been really busy and it's been good stuff and lots of growing and boy, lots of stories to share with you. So I'm excited to share this story that I had happen this past week. You know, be careful what you pray for. I had I had asked God because we were coming going through some financial stuff and my husband pretty much laid down the line and said, either you need to get things going with this little company that you've been trying to work with forever, things need to start moving forward, or you need to go get a real job and start making some money to contribute to the family. And he's right. You can't be a trophy life your whole you can't be a trophy wife your whole life. You can try, but what are you gonna do? So anyway, point taken, I started praying about it. I was like, okay, God, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do. If I need to get a job, help me to find the right job. If things are meant to go where I can make this thing happen, help me start making things happen because I'm doing all I know to do. And wouldn't you know it, suddenly the wheels start turning. I start getting all these gigs for my entertainment company. They just start coming to me. It was amazing. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I'm like sitting there. I was filling like contracts out for other gigs that I had going, and there's a message from one of my friends who works for Blumenthal, which is the art center here, main art place, theater. It's one of the main theaters that we have in Charlotte, and she's heavily involved in it. And she sent me a message and said, out of my Facebook Messenger, it pops up, Kelly, do you do Broadway karaoke? And I'm like, okay, first of all, Broadway and karaoke. I wrote back, I was like, is this a trick question? Of course, I do Broadway karaoke. I love Broadway karaoke. I'm all in. What's going on? And she explained that they were having a big arts festival, which they're having right now in Charlotte. This amazing, big, beautiful arts festival. And I've always wanted to see what maybe I could be a part of it somehow, some way. And this was like, oh, wow, God's going to let me participate in the arts festival this year through Broadway karaoke. So we worked out all the details of this karaoke gig. Now, I'm 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 an entertainer, and this company I started is called Wowie Entertainment, and it's literally Wow stands for Walk on Water because that's my. I know that there'll be times when I doubt myself and I get fearful, that I just have to remember to walk on water. As long as I keep walking on water, God's going to take care of everything. But once I start doubting myself, I start to sink, I start to flounder. But eventually, God's going to pull me up out of that water and say, get in the boat, sit in the boat. I got this. So I forgot what my company stood for with Wowie Entertainment, and it just became entertainment to me. And suddenly I was with this gig coming up for the arts festival, the Broadway karaoke. I was like, "Oh my gosh. Uh-oh. What am I going to do?" I know, I know the karaoke and literally I started this business to be able to get out there and have fun with people because I know how to have fun and I know how to make a crowd have fun. And that's what I do. I know that's my specialty. I've done it for 20 years. I made a living off of it. And it's my passion, it's my love. However, I don't know the tech side. I would literally show up to my gigs in LA and get handed the microphone and just go with it. And if something bad happened, oh well, it's a tech's problem. I'll cover for him. I'll entertain the crowd while the tech covers for it. And I might even give the tech dirty looks like, are you about done? Can you fix this thing already? The crowd's getting restless and I can only be so funny. So I would have little patience for the tech side of things because I had to get out there and I had to entertain and do my thing. And now that I have this company, I've learned just enough tech to get me by. I have an audio mixer that I just barely know how to use. I know how to use it. I can, and I look pretty professional when I walk in with my mixer and set things up, but I literally don't know what half the knobs mean. I know if I plug this in here, this happens and this happens. and I'm barely learning. Like I feel very proud of myself that I know certain things, like what a quarter-inch jack looks like. I know what a quarter-inch jack is. Yes, I'm excited about that. So I knew my tech skills were not the greatest, and that the karaoke was coming from my business. And I had the software app, and I got it to work. It works fine with my mixer, but I know my mixer is not the best mixer, but it works for us. So the arts festival, they sent out the thing ahead of time saying, "Okay, we're going to provide the sound for you, and here's what you need." And so I looked at the requirements, and I'm like, "Okay, well, let's just take a look here." And it said, all of a sudden I'm looking and it says, we need, they started, it was like reading Greek to me. It's like 1 MB or la, la, there's all these mixes of numbers and letters together. We have, you need to have a backup line. I'm like, what the hell's a backup line? I don't know what a backup line is. And so I'm like, I just know I plug my computer into my mixer on this one and turn it up, and it plays what I need it to do. I'm like, and then immediately the panic sets in. It's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how to do this. And so I started freaking out. And I started saying, oh, maybe I need to call the guy and tell him I don't know what's going on and I need help. I was like, no, just don't panic. Let's trust. Let's pray. Let's show up. We'll bring everything we need to bring and have backup plans for the backup plans because we don't know what a backup line is. We'll just go with it. And then I literally prayed, God, send me an angel to help me out here. Please send me an angel and get me through this and help me have a good gig tonight. And on my way, I talked to my sponsor, and she's like, oh yeah, yeah, these, we can laugh about it a little bit because she's also an entertainer as well, and we come from the world of, you know, where you have the entertainers and you have the crew, and the crew is always awesome. You always get along great with them, but they don't know what you do. You know that you respect them for what they do, and they respect you for what you do, and that's kind of it. So she's like, "Oh yeah, those techies. We'll see what happens." And I'm like, "Okay." So I show up to the gig, and I see it's like a nice little stage. I'm like, "Okay, the stage looks good." And there was a guy going on before me playing some Jamaican drums, and there was another guy I saw kind of in the back playing with chords and doing all kinds of stuff. And I walk up and I said, "Hi, I know I'm early, but I'm going to be the next act." And then this guy turns around and goes, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Kelly. I'm going to be the next act." He goes, "I'll be with you in a second." And I was like, "Okay, there's my angel." There's my angel right there. I'm like, this guy knows his stuff, and so he can get me through this. And so he comes up to me. He's like, "Hi, I'm Simon." I'm like, "Oh, hi, Simon, Kelly." And I was like, "I'm with Wowie Entertainment, and we're doing the Broadway karaoke." He's like, "What do you got? What do you need?" And I was like, "Okay, well, Simon, I have I just need to plug my computer in." He goes, "Okay, done. Do you have microphones?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got microphones." And he goes, "Okay, just bring me your stuff, and I'll handle it." And I'm like, "Yes, this is awesome. Simon's got this." And so I bring up all my stuff that I need to bring up, and Simon, I see, he's like, what are your wireless mics? He goes, do they just plug into the are they XLR, or he said something, and I said, and I looked at him like, and he goes, the one with the three prongs. I said, "Oh," I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to tell you right now, Simon, I'm an entertainer. I'm not a techie, so I don't know the tech terminology necessarily." He goes, "The one with the three prongs. Do you have that?" I said, "Oh, no, no, that's not the one." I said, "It plugs into the," and I know it plugs into the quarter-inch jack because that's the only terminology I know. And I'm like, "It plugs into the quarter-inch jack, Simon." And Simon's like, "Okay." And so I bring on the microphones, and I'm kind of doing my thing with my computer, working on that. The guy's playing his drums, and I see Simon grab my microphones, my little microphone pack, and he opens it up and he starts looking at it. And I was like, "Oh boy, here we go." Simon comes up to me, "Kelly, your microphones?" And I go, "Yeah, they're shit. I know." He goes, "They are. You just want to use my mics up here." And I said, yeah, can we do that? That's even better. He's like, yeah, just use it. That's part of your sound package. I'm like, great. So I'm like, this is awesome. And so Simon, the other act gets done, and I go, Simon, will I have a place to plug stuff in? He goes, you will when the act's over. He's using all the plugs right now. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I just need to make sure I have plugs in, and I have a monitor that I have to plug in as well. And Simon's like, okay, that's fine. So the other act gets done, and it's time for me to set up, and this is go time. This is literally, okay, if I can get this up and running, I know I can run the show and it'll be awesome. And so Simon, this we were at the beer garden at the festival, and Simon pretty much came up to me and he's like, just so you know, this is what you're going to be dealing with all night. And it was kind of like a nice crowd of, they clapped and they were just kind of drinking their drink. They really could care less about what was happening on the stage. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, thanks, Simon. Let's go ahead and set up. He goes, all right. And so I put the monitor up and I was like, okay, I just need to connect the HDMI to the monitor. He goes, what? HDMI sucks out the sound. And I said, Simon, I've tested this on my equipment. I know this works. So he's like, okay, whatever. Meanwhile, I'm telling Simon, who's got like, he looks like he used to travel with like the Grateful Dead. He's got like literally a yellow mustache from smoking so many cigarettes. And I'm telling this guy, now listen, Simon, the HDMI cord will work. And I said, and plus I went out to Best Buy and I bought like this long HDMI cord because I knew that I would need it. I was like, and no, and don't worry, I've got a long HDMI cord so we can make this work. And so I pull out my HDMI cord and he's like, what's this? I said, it's my long HDMI cord, Simon. And he goes, that's not long. I thought you said you had a long cord. I'm like, and I'm like, well, it's 12 feet, Simon. So let's just make it happen with the 12 feet. And so we moved my monitor onto the different side, and he's like adjusting everything. And then it comes time for where I had my software, my karaoke software set up. I had my signs all out for people to sign up for my karaoke. Everything was ready to go. All that needed to happen was for the sound to come out of my computer into the mixer and out to the crowds. So I said, okay, let's do it. And so he hands me the thing. We plug it into the headphone jack and he plugs it into his thing. And I hit play. And and of all things, when I hit play on my karaoke machine, the song was Ring of Fire. And it could not have been a more perfect song because all of a sudden you hear dun 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 dun, and it's not coming from the speakers, it's coming from my computer. And Simon looks at me and goes, it's not working. And I said, okay, hold on, Simon. Let's just see. And then I did some adjustments on my computer, and he did it again, and I was like dun 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 dun, and I was like, it's not working. And then I was like, Simon, what chords are you using? Like I know what to do. And he goes, I'm using this. This is what you plug in for the stereo input. I just had it working. And I said, Simon, and I literally told him, I said, you got to have, and this point, I'm kind of starting to get a little flustered. I'm like, you need to have the big one into the little one here. Literally, that's what I said. I said, I need the big one and then the little one, forgetting that I knew one was a quarter-inch jack and the other one I think is like a 3.5 plug-in or whatever. I don't know what it is. So he's like this. And I said, yes, that's what I use to plug into my mixer. Do you have like a stereo output? He goes, this is a stereo output. And so we start going out. I'm trying to tell Simon what to do here. He's having a minor breakdown. Finally, we finagle, and the whole time while this is going on, Ring of Fire is playing in the background while me and Simon at one point is like, I told you that, I know things are working on my end. Your end is the problem. And I'm like, okay, well, this is my angel. This is my angel Simon that's going to get me through. And so finally we ended up figuring it out. Simon worked his magic and the sound came through, and it was like, literally at one point I was praying. I was like, please God, just help the sound come through. And then next thing you know, dun 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 dun, and the sound's coming from the speakers. And I'm like, thank God, thank God, thank God, thank God. Oh, that's what it was. I finally had to give in and say, all right, Simon, let's take out the HDMI cable and see what happens. And he goes, okay. And so we took out the HDMI cable, and I was like, I can make it work. I'll just have the monitor, my computer sit up there. That'll be the where they get the words. And so we took out the HDMI cord, and once you know, it worked. So Simon was right all the time. I just wasn't listening to Simon. Simon says I needed to listen what Simon says and do what Simon says, just like the game. So finally got it to work, took out the HDMI, and then I was like, I need to just go with Simon on this and ask Simon all these questions later, because this is a treasure trove of information for me that I can use for future gigs and to learn from. And so got it up and running. I started my karaoke show. The show was great, and I was supposed to do 2 hours of karaoke and then switch off to Broadway trivia. Well, the show ended up being like nobody was singing. Maybe one or two people were singing Broadway trivia. Everybody else, as is typical in karaoke, you kind of start the wheel slowly, and you get up there and sing and get people going, and then people slowly start coming in, and then the wheels start turning. So the wheels were starting to turn. And Simon, I think, was impressed that the beer garden was actually happening and alive, and people were really having a good time. And he comes up and he goes, "Hey, you're supposed to do Broadway trivia next, but if you want to keep this going, just keep it going." I was like, I agree, Simon. Let's do it. Let's just keep. I said I'll finish out my song list, and then I'll go into my Broadway karaoke, my Broadway trivia. And so, long story short, we ended up not doing the Broadway trivia. And Simon, as it was getting closer to the end, Simon was like, "I'm not staying a minute past 10. I got another gig." Like, don't worry, Simon. I got you. I'll get this. I'll get it done by 10. So we're closing out the song with like the big Tina Turner. I was trying to tie anything I could back to Broadway. I was like, hey, there's Tina Turner on Broadway. Let's do Proud Mary. And so I got up to start Proud Mary. I was like, come on up, anybody who wants to sing. And of course, drunk frat boy comes up as always does. And then like the other drunk people who were like with a birthday party, they came up, and so we were having a fun finale. And I see the thing getting closer and closer and to like 10 o'clock. And finally, I was like, okay, I'm just going to cut it. I was like, okay, let's have a round of applause. And the minute I said it, Simon's like, okay. And he shuts everything down, starts. He was out in 2 minutes. I didn't even get to say goodbye to Simon. However, moral of the story, and boy, this is a really long story, but moral of the story is, I had to walk through the fear and show up when I didn't know what was going to happen. And I prayed for God to send me an angel. And my angel doesn't necessarily look like what I think the angel's going to look like. And I got to allow my angel to be an angel and not think I know more than somebody else, because who am I, and take what I can and learn from that, you know? So, if you're going through something right now and you're a little fearful, you don't know what's going to happen, pray for God to send you an angel and then just watch who shows up. Maybe you'll get somebody like Simon, because Simon was the perfect angel to show up. And I couldn't have asked for a better angel. So, um, Ring of Fire will now have a new meaning for me every time I hear it. But don't judge your angels, because your angels have a very important message for you and a very important lesson for you. And I take my lesson from Simon. What Simon says, I need to do. What God says, I need to just trust that God's going to hand me, exactly what I need to have happen. And I just got to get out of God's way. And if God tells me the HDMI cord doesn't work, I need to say, oh, let me get rid of that. You know what you're talking about. Let me get out of your way today. So stay out of God's way today. Let life happen how it's going to happen, and trust your angels to take care of you, because they got you 100%. 100% they got you. And you don't have to walk through anything alone, because God's got you. Your angels are going to be sent to help you just in your time of need. But you got to be willing to take the help and listen and learn from what they have. All right, this is my 20-minute Monday message, but I had a lot to make up for. I promise next week's will be a lot shorter. And you probably at this point might not even be watching this, but I thought it was a cool story to tell. And thanks to Simon for being my angel this week. And if you're enjoying these Monday messages, sign up. They're not all 20 minutes. Trust me. They're most of them about like 8 or 9 minutes. But sign up and let's keep doing this. Let's keep in touch and start off our week with a positive message of hope to help and heal. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week for another Monday message. Bye.